corruption, and the cover-up.
Good morning and welcome to Sunday's Sunny video. It's the comments video. If you've not been here before, we cover the comments at the end of the video, well, in the last third of the video, and at the beginning of the video we just do some idle chat. Well, it's not idle chat, because I want to talk about a couple of things. Look, Conservatives walked the by-election in Durham region.
And now, Pierre Poilievre's new candidate in Durham is a twofer. He's both an ideologue and an insider.
When you vote for someone, it's putting trust in them, that they're going to listen to you, they're going to work hard for you, that they're going to do right by you and your family. And I'm very grateful that many people in this community believe that about me, and they believe that about our party right now. Bev Oda, Aaron O'Toole, John O'Toole before him. So I think there's a very strong foundation for someone like me that I'm standing on. I'm very grateful to those who came before me. But I also think that, the Conservative Party represents the values of people in Durham. We represent hard work, family, faith, freedom, and that resonates with people here.
It was an absolute landslide. 51% voted Conservative. And the only thing I want to say about this is Conservatives, it's a Conservative area, but the polls said that the Conservatives would win. And we all know Justin Trudeau has said, oh, the polls mean nothing. The polls don't mean anything. But the polls said the Conservatives would win, and they won by a landslide. The other thing I want to say is I was watching on the same day that election was going on, I was watching City News Toronto, and the City News Toronto Trudeau paid interviewer said on that program said that, oh, this has been a Conservative stronghold, so maybe it will change this time around, hinting that, oh, maybe we should be voting Liberal now. And the only person that they interviewed in that segment was the Liberal candidate for the Liberal Party. They didn't interview the Conservative Party candidate. No, they only interviewed and spoke with the Liberal Party candidate. Yeah, that tells you about Trudeau's paid-for news people, really, in a nutshell. Another thing that I'm trying to get my head around before we get to the comments is this Winnipeg, China leaking of secrets from the science lab. I think Poilievre can explain this much better than me. So let's have a listen to Poilievre on this one.
Corruption and the cover-up. But now we know that he cannot protect our people or our country. We've just received these documents that Trudeau has been covering up for years. Documents related to a massive security breach at the Trudeau government's most sensitive laboratory, where the most dangerous viruses and pathogens are studied and handled. We have learned that the Trudeau government's head of pathogens was collaborating with members of Beijing's People's Liberation Army who are responsible for bioweapons and bioterrorism. We know now that a People's Liberation Army official was able to gain personal access, walk in the door, look at computers, and have access to all of our most important virological secrets. If you think any of this is hyperbole, read the report yourself. This is from government documents, the Trudeau government's own documents. It says here on page 142, Winnipeg lab scientist Dr. Chu is head of the Special Pathogens Unit, the top person in that job. According to documents on page 242, quote, represents a serious and credible danger to the government of Canada as a whole, and in particular at facilities considered high security due to the potential for theft of dangerous materials attractive to terrorists and foreign entities that conduct espionage to infiltrate and damage the economic security of Canada, end quote. He collaborated with Beijing to buy a vaccine for COVID. Could you imagine if the deal that Trudeau wanted to sign with Beijing had gone ahead and we had procured China-made vaccines after learning this information? That's what was in this guy's head. And if you think for a minute, because I know there'll be all kinds of excuses, well, he's not responsible and how could he possibly take ownership of what happens in his government? Let me quote him. He has a document called Open and Accountable Government. And I quote, as head of government, the Prime Minister has special responsibilities for national security, end quote. It's his responsibility.
So what do you think? The whole thing is a mess. Okay, I get that. But hiding everything before an election, and then there's the Beijing interference, Chinese interference with that very election. it's all very fishy, and you've got to call out Trudeau on this one. 100%. He's the guy, like Poilievre said, he's the guy in charge of this. He's the guy who should be taking the responsibility. These are more and more questionable things that Trudeau's doing while he's in power, while he's controlling Canada, and while he's controlling not only Canada, he's trying to control the narrative that Canadians can hear, and that is right before an election. That is wrong, 100% wrong. Poilievre is 100% correct. Do you think he's correct? Just leaves a comment. I think 100% Poilievre is spot on. Trudeau was well out of order on this one and really should suffer the consequences. But we'll see what happens. It's another one that's going to drag through the courts and probably drag through media and never be heard of on CBC. Anyway, let's get on with the comments. So there's one video that really hit it last week, and that was the carbon tax showdown. Poilievre destroys Trudeau's carbon tax agenda. This is something that really annoys me, and obviously looking at the comments, this really annoys many, if probably all Canadians. So let's just have a look through the comments that you left regarding carbon tax. Alexandra said,
I don't know why this stupid government leaves Justin Trudeau, who is a free criminal, at his will. You don't see that in the world. And because he's not in jail, he is a cynical criminal who mocks justice, laws, the Canadian government and Canadians, and he is about to be re-elected. It has been the worst thing that has happened to Canada, and he is in the polls for re-election. This is a shame.
He shouldn't be still part of the Liberal government. He shouldn't be the leader of the Liberal government. They should have somebody with some common sense. Stacey said,
He is killing Canada and Canadians. Enough already. 23% more. I only get about 45% of my pay now. Money in our pockets means less tax. BS, less lies. Stop.
That's a great point, Stacey, because just getting back from England, I got my holiday pay, which was a little bit more than what I normally get because I've been collecting some. And out of my pay, a third of it, 1/3 of my pay, went towards taxes and other things that the government would like to charge me, including CPP and EI. A third of my paycheck. I was like, what? The driller said,
Carbon tax, GST tax. Just scams by the Liberal government to make the people think they are getting money from the government. The income tax is already too high in Canada. I worked in Canada in 1986 and was losing half of my paycheck to taxes.
Yeah, like I just said, I'm losing a third of it to taxes. And I'm a citizen, middle income citizen losing a third of the paycheck. That's ridiculous. And then they want 23% more on top for my fuel and for my heating in Canada. It's supposed to be cold in Canada. Heating's a necessity. And then you want to tax it. Should you even be taxing a necessity? That's the thing. Should we even have tax on fuel, heating fuel, as it's a necessity? Larry said,
I have never received a carbon tax check in Alberta and paid more dollars. 7,000 in carbon tax. This is killing us. Trudeau is full of poop emojis. Crap.
Hot Rod Plumber said,
the weather is driven by the sun, the only source of energy that truly drives the weather.
Exactly. And the tilt of the earth and stuff. It's nothing to do with people with matches lighting fires isn't much good, but we have volcanoes and all sorts of disasters. We have wars going on, and we're worried about straws and making people poor so they can't drive to work. Ted said,
Me and my wife never received any rebate. We are pensioners and never saw any of this.
Richard said,
Why is Trudeau opening his mouth and is just saying lies? We never got a carbon check for the amount he says. Going grocery shopping is now depressing.
Yeah, grocery shopping is so expensive. I gotta admit, I get most of my grocery stuff from liquidation stores. Yeah, there's 2 liquidation stores I go to in Ajax, Sal's and Caroline's in Oshawa, and yeah, those guys. That's where I get that's where I get like a beef joint or some ham or the main things that you use for your dinners. We usually it's from them liquidation stores. D. Pappas said,
I've never received a carbon tax check rebate, but I pay the tax every day on the gas in my car, on the heating of my home, and on my groceries.
yeah, there's quite a lot of people are not receiving these checks. Brian said,
Same here, even though I pay an extra $75 each and every time I fill my rig. Couldn't even tell you what those checks look like.
yeah, he drives a big truck in Alberta from the oil fields, and this is extra money that Brian's paid. And that's on top of what he usually puts in the tank. So the huge tank, and then carbon tax, and then because they call it a carbon charge, no doubt Brian's getting charged GST and HST and PST and STST and whatever on top of that. Anyway, yeah, I had to move. I was in someone's space. Stacey said,
He won't stop till we are living in tents freezing. Get him out now. Pure evil.
exactly, Stacey. Chubb said,
Blackface Justin thinks he's a modern-day Robin Hood trying to save the planet using the biggest lie ever told. He is a con man.
that's perfectly said. Chubb, you've nailed it. Nailed it there, man. Ted said,
Me and my wife never received any rebate. We are pensioners and never saw any of this.
many people are not seeing any rebates. The whole thing is just blowing up out of proportion. No one wants to listen, though. No one listens to people who don't get their... It's all like, oh, we're giving back. Just don't take it in the first place. Peter said,
A tax on carbon with no alternative travel means won't achieve anything. Around my way there is no public transport, so there is no alternative to automobile use. So how does the carbon tax do anything?
It doesn't, Peter. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't fix the weather. The same as paying the police extra money doesn't fix crime. The same as paying for things doesn't fix things. I don't know how the government don't see it. They're just dumb fucks. It's just, I don't know. I just don't get it. Time for change. Let's get rid of this guy. It's infuriating that Trudeau's lasted this long. Anyway, just make sure you vote the right way when the election comes along. Not this twit. Until next time.